So the Fed basically said, screw you guys, we're making y'all poor through the magic of inflation. You want to have a sassy smart money come back to that response? Well, I can show you how. First, you should hit that big red subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, share this video, follow me on all my socials, and subscribe to my Subscribe Star. $20 a month can get you access to my strategy research, stuff that I'm currently doing, and stuff that I'm currently developing in progress as well. It's designed and meant for you to kind of build your own strategy and help you along without having to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for it. So right now, it currently seems like the Fed doesn't really care about inflation, and I think that they thought that they can control inflation through, manipulation of interest rates and so forth, but that didn't really account for supply side inflation, and now here we are. So with that said, I've leaned more into crypto miners, specifically Bitfarm. Now, if it wasn't obvious at the start, I'm just going to say, for full disclosure, I have a position in Bitfarm at this current moment. Let's start this off by asking the question, who is Bitfarm and what do they do? Well, as they describe it, Bitfarm is a blockchain infrastructure company that operates one of the largest cryptocurrency mining operations in North America. They currently have 82 megawatts. They have 1.6 exahashes. They are interlisted on both the NASDAQ and the TSX exchange. And currently, they boast about a $9,000 overhead per coin mine. So basically, for every coin that they mine, it costs them about $9,000, with the coins going for about $60,000 at this current moment. Their current claims are that they are powered by clean energy hydroelectricity, to be precise, in 5 facilities throughout Quebec, and they have a lot of in-house management. They own infrastructure and computing power and so forth, etc. So that's basically the end of previewing their website. So to quickly review, they are a Bitcoin miner company that is powered fully by, or majority by, hydroelectricity, and they have 5 locations throughout Quebec. So if you made it this far, I urge you to stay to the end, because there are a lot of good things about these mining companies, but there are also a lot of bad things and concerns that I have. I feel that they're genuine concerns that I will later address, but I want to give you the facts first based on how I've seen it being presented. And if you guys know anything about Bitcoin mining companies, they occasionally push out Bitcoin production and mining operation updates. Bitfarm is no different. And currently, this was about 2 weeks ago, on October 1st. It's the 16th right now. But they mined about 305 new Bitcoins during the month of September. So around 10 Bitcoins mined daily. And if you guys know anything about Bitcoin mining, you know that sometimes you can mine a little bit more, sometimes you can mine a little less, because it's just based on the difficulty, and sometimes luck plays a factor and so forth, right? But and your competition and so forth. But they mined about 1050 in the third quarter of 2021, and they have, in the month ending of September, mined about 2,400 Bitcoins, and they deposited about 2,300 of those Bitcoins, or about 96% of that, into custody, which is basically their wallet. And they were doing this at the time when Bitcoin, right now, it's about 60,000. When they were doing this, it was about 43,000. On the mining front, they talk a little bit about their miners and how a quarter of their Bitmain miners and 300 of their MicroBT miners are scheduled for delivery in September. And they are essentially progressively setting up the miners as soon as they get it, which, most companies do that anyways, right? But I'm a little confused by some of the portions, because I don't know if some companies order the shipments all at once, because it seemed to me like they were getting the shipments all at once, whereas this company is like, as soon as we get those miners, we're just like setting them up right away. And as you'll learn later on in this video, on some of my concerns, which I won't really touch on now, but I'm just going to keep moving forward. But so yeah, they also cite that due to supply chain and shipping delays, the 1,600 other Bitmain miners originally scheduled for September delivery are en route and expected to be delivered in October. Once they are installed, they expect to have 1.7 exahashes, which on their site, as we saw, they're currently boasting about 1.6 exahashes, so forth. Yeah, and that's basically concludes this portion of the mining updates. I'm going to go over these ones really quickly, but a couple days after that, they also released a press release saying that they had to expand their Quebec mining operations with 13 megawatts of hydropower, and they are currently on track to exceed 1.6 exahashes, with the end goal of, I believe they said that the end goal was that they wanted to have 3 exahashes by the end of the year, but with the shipping delays and stuff like that, who knows when that's going to happen or whatever, right? The other thing that I've been noticing, which I'm not 100% sure, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself a little with the concerns, Emiliano keeps talking about the 50 or 55,000 new generation Bitcoin miners and stuff like that. Well, is all 50,000 there, or are they in progress? Like, are you guys going to house it all in Quebec or whatever, right? Because the reason why I'm asking this is because over in this article, a couple days later, they signed a contract to commence construction, which you guys can see on their Twitter, which I'll pull up later, about a new facility in Argentina. And I heard a little things about Paraguay as well, but they also mentioned about 55,000 miners on top of this. Oh, yeah, here we go, Paraguay as well. So my question is, are they going to obviously expand operation, or are they going to move operations down there? That is just a general question I have, because I misread things all the time. I'm not 100% clear on that as well. So yeah, I don't know if he will ever respond to this video or even clarify that, but that's up to you to determine yourself. Now I saw some comments not specific to Bitfarm, but more so in terms of like their hash rate, and they're saying that basically Bitfarm is about 1% of the total hash rate on the network. And just to quickly verify that claim, there's about 134 exahashes currently, according to CoinWars. So that divided by this is about 1.1, 1.2%. So that kind of checks out so far. Now at this point, you would ask, well, Redemption, it seems like everything's gravy. Like, nothing's too big of an issue. Why are you still continuing to research about this? Well, I ask a lot of questions, and I like to ask a lot of questions because I know just enough. And even with that said, though, like, I can never know everything. And honestly, the only way for me to get better is to constantly keep asking these questions and constantly checking to see if they actually did follow through with their words or not, despite whatever kind of updates. Because not only do I want to know their business model is sound, I want to know how adaptive they are, how good their management team is, how good their PR team is, which is not really that great right now. No offense to you, but just how I see it right now. But this is my concerns moving forward. To start some of my concerns, it's cool that you have 1% of the hash rate network and stuff like that. It's a really good position to be in, but if I know anything about Bitcoin mining, it's always an arms race. So you're constantly having to have that hash rate ups, because if you don't, then your competitors are going to overtake you and have the higher probability to mine more coins and so forth. So again, I will let the operating cash flow kind of slide a little, because they're not really cash flow positive right now, because again, Bitcoin, most other even better Bitcoin mining companies are not cash flow positive. So I will let that slide for now. What I won't slide, however, is currently you have about, $36 million in cash, right? And what is your burn rate on this thing? So operating expenses and so forth. About 21 million. Oh no, that's annually. So quarterly they have about 21 million and so forth. Operating income of 12 million and so forth. Yeah, so I believe you can make it to the end of the year based on this. And again, I could be wrong in this whole situation. I believe that you can make it. You have enough cash to make it to the end of the year with this current situation. However, if I know anything about these companies as well, I know that you guys have to do a share dilution at some point to raise some cash, because otherwise you guys would be broke. Which I was correct upon, because in your Q2 report, you also established a at-the-market equity program, otherwise known as a share dilution. How much of this? It's about $500 million or 500 million. And this was also reinforced by your Twitter and stuff like that. If you guys read some of the comments, like obviously most of your investors know that this is a share dilution and it's going to kill the price of your stock and their holdings and so forth. Investors are typically not happy about that situation, but right now it is what it is, unfortunately. I would not be too happy about this either if I was in as early as some of these guys, but so far they intend to use this money to basically use for working capital, fund ongoing operations, repaying indebtedness outstanding from time to time, complete future acquisitions, and other corporate purposes. That's cool and all, but you guys have established that you want to hodl as much Bitcoin as possible, but constantly diluting the value of your stock, which I agree with this individual down here, where it says that you might not be able to mine enough in the next 3 years to make your money, because no one's ever really asked a question of what happens if Bitcoin goes down. It's all cool when Bitcoin is the price of Bitcoin keeps going up and you guys are miners and stuff like that. Yeah, everything's gravy, everything works, but no one really ever expects a downturn in the market, and no one ever really plans for that. To throw another wrench in the mix, the citizens or locals of Sherbrooke in Quebec are pursuing legal action against Bitfarm because of the noise generated from their farming operations. Now, I know that they're not a quiet operation. It sounds like a jet engine. Just one of them sounds like a jet engine. I can only imagine about a couple hundred of them stacked on top of each other. I sympathize, but I also know that according to what Bitfarm said, that they installed soundproof barriers, sound monitoring, stuff like that. They've taken steps to try to reduce this. Now, we haven't had an update on the situation so far for whatever reason, but we shall see how this plays out. But this is a concern moving forward. For the location concerns that I have in the situation, I believe this is the flag of Uruguay, and they're posting pictures, which is a great update. And it shows that they've broken ground and that they are putting up the walls and so forth or whatever, right? And they're saying that it's going to be competitive rate of 0.36 cents kilowatt per hour US. More on that a little bit later, but this is the Uruguay facility. Again, if you look at these pictures, look at these surroundings. They're not a very populated area, but they're not in a too much of a rural area. Now, my concern with that is going back to Sherbrooke again, because the issue with Sherbrooke is that the residents complained about the noise that they were making. So far, I don't see any sort of buffering. I don't see any sort of double layering in these walls. I don't see a lot of trees to drown out sound and stuff like that. I'm not sure too much because I'm not a sound engineer, as you can tell by my poor mic quality. But I don't really know what the story with that is currently, but this is significantly less than what they're paying, which I'll get to later after I talk about Argentina. Sorry, I meant to say not too insignificantly less than what they're currently paying. So really quick history lesson about Argentina. They had rolling blackouts back about a decade or two ago. Government did not like that because they were heavily reliant on natural gas and fossil fuels, which the price of which was going up, so it became a little bit more expensive. So they basically said, we're going to award anybody power generation contracts. We will essentially fund you to see if this works and to lessen our dependency on fossil fuels and nat gas. And first early couple projects seem to pan out very well. They are now about 20% reliant on renewable energies, which is great, and it seemed to have high profit yields or whatever. But it was good enough that the government could actually lean back some of their funding. Some more other international funding came in, some private equity funding came in to the point where they were literally paying you. Originally, it was the government paying you to build a power facility down there. To all these other companies, all these other forward agencies want to help develop it. They'll pay you to go build your power facility down there, right? So obviously that's a pretty good sign. Now, I could not find a location for where Bitfarm is building their thing. I only know about their the power facilities are going to be built somewhere in the desert in northern Patagonia, some in southern Patagonia, which is around the ice fields. If you guys don't know the map, I think that somewhere around here is northern Patagonia. Down here around the Falkland Islands and stuff like that is southern Patagonia. But there's a lot of dry desert and let's see if this map load. Yeah, so there's a lot of dry, hot, and cold deserts out there. Now, if you know anything about Bitcoin mining, again, I don't know where they're going to locate the facility, but if it were me, I would say that they want to locate this somewhere that's somewhat rural and close to the power facility, but away from a lot of people so they don't get the Sherbrooke issue, right? But also on top of that, temperature and climate plays a big factor in my opinion, because in terms of temperature, if you look at it, yeah, you want it to be a cold climate. But on top of that, you also have to deal with the humidity that gets created with that cold climate, right? You want it to be a dry cold. And the reason for that, obviously, is because Bitcoin miners, when you have a lot of moisture there, it can seep into the machines. It'll lessen the life of the machines. You want to keep it cold, but you also want to keep it dry as well, because otherwise it'll start to rust. In terms of their mining, the cost, I have a little bit of a nitpick here because their Argentinian facility is planned to produce Bitcoin using the power at the attractive rate of 2.2 cents per kilowatt hour. This is US, substantially reducing our already low-cost Bitcoin mining. Again, I read somewhere, I don't know where, but this is just kind of a guess. They had about 1,500 ant miners, whatever, right? So I plugged that into a calculator, 1,500 miners, and this comes close to what they're citing their mining a day in terms of per coin. Obviously, this has shifted a little because the price of Bitcoin's risen, but I didn't pull this number out of nowhere, this 0.59, because I looked at the price of power in Quebec. It's about 7.3 cents, which converted to the US, it's 5.9, which gives you that number total. Now, why would they say that they're already producing like Bitcoin at a low cost when they're basically paying the standard rate over there? That's kind of disingenuous in my opinion. My final thoughts and opinions on the subject are, yeah, I have a decent sized position in Bitfarm. Um, why am I in it? Because the Fed is basically running out of control and just letting inflation go all over the place. However, with that said, though, I also am incredibly scrutinous of this position because at the end of the day, it's my money. I worked very hard for it, and I don't want to see it just disappear like that because of mismanagement or incapabilities or stuff like that. And I'm not saying that Bitfarm is or isn't. I'm not alleging anything like that. I'm just incredibly concerned with the stuff that I've read so far. In terms of the cost, I mean this in the nicest way possible, but I think you guys are full of it because if you guys are paying the standard rate of what a normal household would pay per kilowatt hour, you guys are paying too much. You guys didn't get a deal. You guys are just an attachment to the deal. That's just the fact. Obviously, you guys could have tried to go for a green energy credit, but there isn't much green energy credits that could be yielded from already clean generating energy. The funding for that, from what I understand, is mostly in building that infrastructure up. To expand on the infrastructure as well, I don't know if anybody from Bitfarm or Emilio's watching. If you guys have watched this and have made it this far, hi. If you guys want to get in contact, socials down below. I'm going to give you guys this idea for free. I think you guys are missing out on a huge opportunity in Argentina with the power generation contracts. And I think you guys should have actually gone for one of them because you could have gotten your own power facility for free. Think about it for a second. I know it sounds like a pivot or whatever, right? But think about it for a second. They're paying you to build a power facility to generate power, right? Obviously, you pay them a little bit and so forth because they want a return on their investment and so forth. But at the end of the day, you will own that power facility for the most part. That's something not a lot of the other crypto miners are doing right now because they're doing a lot of lease power. On top of that as well, since it's going to be a renewable energy facility, some of those mechanics are also they generate excess amount of power. And the neat thing about that is that there's no way to store that power. So that's where Bitcoin mining comes in play because it can help balance out the grid. Granted, you might have a variable in hash rate and stuff like that, but I think the cash flow generation from that facility would outweigh the dips in like hash power. And I know it's an arms race constantly. You have to have maximum amount of hash rate at every single time, but in terms of long term, I think that would be a smart move. On top of that as well, I'm also scrutinizing you guys just holding the 2,300 Bitcoins and not actually doing anything with it. I think that you just leaving it there is worse than just having cash because, we have inflation, although there's no inflation in Bitcoin. I think that if there was a huge downturn in the Bitcoin price, you guys would be kind of screwed. And to diversify some of that risk, I think loaning it out, doing some of the co-locations and stuff like that, some of the other people are doing, would actually, justify and reduce a lot of your costs overhead for mining Bitcoin. This video is a little longer than what I typically make because there's just so much to chew on. And even I had to cut down a lot of this because I'm kind of pressed for time with this thing. One other thing I really kind of wanted to say, just to close this out, is that I feel like your presence on social media is kind of weak. And if Adam Aaron has taught us anything, is that you might be trying to appeal just to the institutional investors, but if you haven't noticed, a lot of retail investors are out there as well, right? And I barely see Emilio. I barely see anybody else on your board as well. I'm not just trying to pick on Emilio here too, right? But I don't see a lot of interviews. I see one specifically with institutional investors like HC Wainwright and so forth. But at the end of the day, what do I know, right? I'm just some guy on the internet. I've never ran or run any sort of publicly or privately traded company. I'm just some guy that tells people to subscribe, like, comment, share this video. Check out me on my other socials. Subscribe to my Subscribe Star, $20 down below. $20 a month gets you access to my current strategy developments and strategy research. And I also tell people that they just need to realize that just because they're a day trader doesn't mean they have to trade every single day.